Shalom Aleichem, Rabbi Sai, this is Menachem Nissel, live here in Yerushalayim. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Are we good over here?
Yes, indeed.
Okay, thank you so much, Rabbi Yitz. Thank you, all of you that could make it. Once again, thank you, Rabbi Moshe Freilach, for making this happen. Mazel Tov again on the birth of Hadassah. We'll be zeicha to have much Yiddish Nachas from all our kinderlich, especially all of us that was zeicha in the last period to have children. Moshe, you should have a sach Yiddish Nachas, and she should be zeicha to be a bas Talmud Chacham. Today's class is on it's a somewhat esoteric subject. The story so far is that the last 2 weeks we've been speaking about the sugya of dreams. This is the sugya in Perek Haroya and Perek Chi. This is going to be Daf Nun Zayin Amud Aleph. I just want to give a quick summary of what we've said so far in general about the nature of dreams. We learned 2 weeks ago from Sefer Derech Hashem, Chelik Daled at the very beginning, that he summarizes that the nature of dreams can be broken down into 4 major categories. Category number 1 is a category that every student of psychology learns, which understands that the nature of dreams is basically the brain continues at night while we're sleeping. And what it does is that it uses, the way we said it 2 weeks ago, it uses the Koach HaDimyon, and it breaks down all the fears and anxieties that we have during the day. And this explains 99.99% of our dreams. That's why if you are a kala and you dream at night that you are being chased by your chassan, do not fear. This can be explained by your local therapist. This is nothing more than your anxieties and fears coming out in your dreams at night. Do not take any heed to them whatsoever. They are completely and totally meaningless. Category number 2 is a step number 1 in what we call a prophetic dream, which means that at night, 1/60th of our neshama goes up to the higher worlds and therefore has access to what we call, in the language of the Ramchal, the world of roots. So we know that every Jew believes the emuna shalema, just like I can see the world that in the words of the Ramban, that the Greeks can see, the world that is the visual world, just like I can see those worlds. And imamin be'emuna shalema, that there are higher worlds. In the words of the Ramchal, there's the world of where the Malachim go up and down, the Olam HaMalachim, and higher than that is what's called the Olam HaKisei, the world of the heavenly throne. That is where everything begins. At night, our neshama goes up and has access to the world of roots, the world of the Kisei HaKavod, and there we can see events before they happen. That's what Nevuah is all about. In the same way that the weatherman can see the weather before it actually happens, you and I can see events that before it happens through the koach of dreams. And this happens on 3 levels. Level number 1 is called through shadim, and this is the lowest of the prophetic dreams. And basically, what you're seeing is mixed with huge amounts of sheker, especially as the Maharsha explains. We said this last week. If you dream after having had a heavy meal, certain ingredients make these things even worse. If you have garlic or what have you, so all these things, the world of the imagination is harnessed by, as we said, the world of shadim. So shadim are demons. Demons are a complex subject in their own right. The Ramchal in Sefer Derech Hashem talks about them. I always like to say the following joke. I apologize right up front. Rashi brings down that the animals came 2 by 2 into the Tevas Noach, and Rashi brings v'eis kol hachaya eis l'rabos es hashedim. So the shadim also came 2 by 2. So the obvious question is, if shadim are invisible, how did Noach see them? And the answer is because they were wearing sunglasses. They were wearing these things over here. Okay, so they were wearing sunglasses like this. And the obvious question is, if they were wearing sunglasses, why were they wearing sunglasses? And the answer is because they were cool shades. Get it? They were cool shades. I'm sorry, I had to say that joke. Anyhow, so shadim, they take access of your koach hadimyon, and that's where you have nightmares and all kinds of horrible dreams that are the second level of dreams. The third level, which is what our Gemara is going to talk about, is where our koach hadimyon has access to the world of emes, and there malachim, who are malachim of emes, they show us things that are real, and that is basically the Daf Nun Zayin and Daf Nun Ches, the Gemaras that we're learning now. That is the great sugyas in Perek Haroya that talks about how we see real prophetic dreams, and that for people like you and me, we get to see them once or twice a lifetime. You can expect over a lifetime, a person like you and I, we will get to see these dreams once or twice. And the fourth and final level is pure nevuah, and that is the asmaklaria she'ena me'ira, that a Navi will get. The Navi will see, Zechariah will see a menorah, and his koach hadimyon will be so perfect that he'll be able to tell the future, not just for himself, but for all of Klal Yisrael, what is going to happen into the future. Theoretically speaking, there is a fifth level, which is Moshe Rabbeinu, but that's not really a dream. That's asmaklaria shemeira. That is a pure and complete access with absolute emes to the higher worlds. That's why Moshe Rabbeinu's nevuah is kivea, its own level in the 13 principles of faith of Moshe Rabbeinu, and that the Ramchal doesn't even talk about in Sefer Derech Hashem. The bottom line is that the sugya that we're about to look at now is going to be examples of prophetic dreams that are emes. And here the Gemara goes through case after case after case, haroya this, haroya that. We're going to see 7 examples in a moment, and the Gemara is going to tell us how to interpret the dream. And basically, the Gemara classically uses one of 2 systems, and both of these 2 systems you will instantly recognize is how you and I can have access to the world of roots. One is through the power of Hebrew letters. So, and Yitz Hashem, if you see a pill, an elephant, so you'll see a pele, something wondrous, because Hey Yud Lamed and Hey Lamed Aleph have the same roots in the higher worlds. And basically, this reminds us that when Adam created, Adam HaRishon looked at the animals and he named them. This is how Adam HaRishon did it. He would look at a dog, and he would look and look and look, and he would see the Kalef, Kaf, and the Lamed and the Vase lining up that way, and he would say Kelev, and that Kelev was the essence of the animal in the world of roots, that a Kelev is a Kelev. In other words, a dog in the world of its sources is actually a Kelev, and when we dream the dreams that we're going to see now, a lot of them are connected to seeing how letters align with each other to be able to reveal what is happening in the source of the world of creation, because the world was created by Hebrew letters. If you want to read more about this, you should read the Hagdama of the Ramban on Chumash. My beloved Mike put this on your list of things that you should do, hopefully Chazara, is to know well the Ramban's Hagdama to Chumash, where he talks about how HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world through the power of letters. Furthermore, the other system that is used in the Gemara in Brachos Nun Zayin is psukim. Psukim as well, like letters, also comes from the world of roots. Histakel ba'araisa or bara alma. HaKadosh Baruch Hu looked deep into the world. Histakel ba'araisa, HaKadosh Baruch Hu looked into the world. Or bara alma, HaKadosh Baruch Hu looked in the Torah, and he used the Torah as the source of creation. So when you see words, and the Gemara says, I identify these words through psukim, once again, psukim is the world of roots. So let's go straight into this, and I'm going to give you 7 examples right up front. Now I have to apologize for those of you veterans of the shir. So this is a Gemara Brachos shir, and I normally like to learn the Gemara with the inside, with the Rashi, with the Tesis, with the Rishonim. That's how we normally learn. But because the nature of this shir is information intensive, and the whole purpose is to cover ground to get to Lag BaOmer and to Pesach Sheni and to get to the Midah of Hod, as we're going to do so mit Hashem. I'm going to apologize if you have the Gemara in front of you, Nut Zayin or an Aleph, and you look 1/3 down the page where the Gemara starts and goes through the 7 species. You'll find it. You'll find it 3 lines before it gets wide. On Nun Zayin Amud Aleph, Amar Rav Chia bar Ava, Haraya Chitim b'Chalaim Ra'a Shalem Shenema Hasam Gavulech Shalem Chelev Kitim Yaspiach Haraya Sa'irim b'Chalaim Sar Avanesav Shenema V'Sar Avanecha V'Chatasecha Tuchupar. I'm just going to say this in simple language. I'm going to say this without reading inside. I've written this up in my notes over here. I'm now going to go through with you the 7 species. We know the 7 species because in kindergarten we learned to sing them. Eretz Chita, Usaira, Vegefen, Veteina, Rimon, Eretz Eschala, V'Dvash. These are the 7 minim that we find in Parshas Ekev that Eretz Yisrael was blessed with. Those 7 species, what happens if you see them in a dream? So here you have a perfect example of what I spent literally 2 years of my life with the Moshe Shapiro when we were learning this Gemara. These are examples. You see a chita, which means you go to sleep, and at night you were not thinking of wheat. People like me, we go to sleep at night thinking of chocolate. That's the way we work. In the morning, I wake up dreaming of coffee, but I don't dream of a wheat kernel or a wheat leaf. I actually have over here, I wanted to show this to you. I've never looked at this, but I picked up this amazing sefer. It's called Mishnas HaChalemes. Somebody, I don't even know who it was. He got a lot of haskamas. He wrote a book, a fat, huge book about dreams. It goes on forever and ever. And the last 50, 60 pages is what he calls Pisrein HaChalemes HaShalem V'Hamavoah. He goes through every single possible thing that you could possibly dream about, and they're all things, right? They're all things. I just opened it randomly. Haroya Barzel, Haroya Brokim, Haroya, whatever it may be, Haroya Basar, Haroya Psula, Haroya, these things. He goes through it like a dictionary, and they're all same thing in common. You're not thinking about them the day before, and you see an object, you see an animal, you see they have examples of people from history that you've never met before. All these are examples of the dreams that are here in the Gemaras over here. He has many other sources from earlier places about how to interpret dreams. And there you have your little dictionary of things that you dream about. So in this dictionary, I have not checked it out, but I'm sure he has these 7 species. And here we go. Chita, Sa'ira, Geffen, what do they mean? So I'm just going to read to you the Gemara over here. The Gemara says, quote, Haroya Chita b'Chalaim, if you see a wheat kernel, I'm not sure if it means the kernel or the wheat with the stalk. Haroya Chita b'Chalaim, Ra'a Shalom, you will see peace. And then he brings a pasuk which connects peace with Chita, Hasam Gavulech Shalom, Chelev Chitim Yasbiach. So you see that Chita is connected to Shalom. Next case, Haroya Sa'irim b'Chalaim. If you see barley in a dream, Saru Avoinosav, your sins will be removed. The Marsha at the back of our Gemara says this is an example of letters. So Sa'irim, as you all know, the letter Sin and the letter Samach are interchangeable in Jewish Hashkafa. So Sa'ira is Sur Ra, okay? Removing or Sa'irim is Sar Aven, is removing the iniquity. So if you dream about barley, so your sins are being removed. These are all nice, beautiful interpretations. Wheat equals peace. Sa'irim equals removal of sin. Let's keep going. Haroya Geffen b'Chalaim. So here, if you see grapes in a dream, so says the Gemara, Ein ishtay mapelas lefalim, shenema eshtecha kegefen peiria. This is a pasuk that we say every day. Your wife will not have a miscarriage. So this is unfortunately, and all of us are here are married. Well, those of us that are, So we all unfortunately know there's a sugya called miscarriages. So if you have a dream, especially be wonderful if your wife was pregnant and then you have a dream of grapes. So that means that your wife will have a successful pregnancy. That's 3. Number 4 is haroya te'ena b'cholom. You see a fig in a dream. So there it says, Teirasa mishtameres b'kirbo, your Torah will be kept well inside of you. And then it brings a pasuk again. Haroya Rimon b'chalaim. If you see a pomegranate in a dream. So there it breaks into different categories. Im Talmud Chacham, if you are a Torah scholar, yitzapa l'Torah. So expect to see Torah. Imam Haaretz, if you are an ignorant person, you're not a Torah scholar, yitzapa l'mitzvahs. You should await to have mitzvahs. So again, if you see a fig, so your Torah will be kept inside of you. In other words, the Torah that you have will stay. You won't forget your Torah. If you see a Rimon, expect Torah if you are a Torah scholar, which is everyone that's listening to my class now. If you're not a Torah scholar, expect mitzvos. So I guess it means that you'll have opportunities to do mitzvos. So that is Rimon. You've got 2 more. We're almost there. Oh, by the way, the pasuk for the Rimon, Shinema Kepelach Harimon Rakasech, is a pasuk in Shir Hashirim. Those of you on Fridays who say Shir Hashirim, beautiful custom. So the Gemara says, Ma Rakasech, Afilu Rikonim Shebacha Malay Mitzvahs Kerimon. I love this Gemara. I think it's also at the end of Chagiga, and there it says the word Rakasech over here is a expression of rekim, of empty people who do not have Torah. Nevertheless, they are filled with a mitzvos like a Rimon. Now, those of you that have a Shir Hashirim at home with Malbim, as you'll have fun. The Malbim actually says on this pasuk that if you open up a Rimon, you will find 613 little pits inside of that. I think my oldest son once tried it. It wasn't even a quarter. I don't think it was nowhere near that. And my Rebbe, Ramesh Shapiro, I remember he made a comment when we learned this Gemara. He says, I doubt that the Malbim ever saw a Rimon in real life. People like us, we take for granted that we know what a pomegranate looks like. If you lived in Latvia, which is where the Malbim lived, so you do not get to see a Rimon your whole life. But the bottom line is that it doesn't make any difference. It could be al pisaid. There's be'etzem 613 little pits inside a Rimon, but that is a mashal to a Amoaretz, that you see people that do not look like Torah scholars, and yet they are filled with mitzvahs like a Rimon. Finally, haroya zeisim b'chalom. 2 more. You see a zeisim are olives in a dream. So there, again, it breaks into, I'm going to look at olive trees. It says, Havim banim merubim. You will have lots of children. Shenema banecha k'shesili zeisim savu l'shulchanecha. For you guys, when you go to sleep after this class, you should be saying the Shir Hamalos, Tehillim Kuf Kaf Hey, and there you say, Bez Hashem Yisbarach, that you should be zeichet to have sons surrounding you. And this pasuk is your sons are compared like planted olive trees. And finally, haroya tamarim b'chalaim. You see a tamar in a dream, so that means tamu avonasech, all your sins will be removed. Tamu avonasech, your sins will be removed. So all of these things are we're going to go over this obviously a little bit in detail, but I want to get, obviously this is the point where I get to really what I want to get to over here is the gra. So just before I get to the gra, since I never get a chance to ask this question in front of Talmidei Chachamim, in front of Torah scholars, I'm going to ask you a question that I never had a chance to ask my Rebbe Ramesh Shapiro. I have a fantasy that I'm going to ask this once to Reb Chaim Kanievsky. If any of you have access to Torah scholars, today's share is based on the 7 dreams in the Gemara in Brachos. This is one of the ways you can find out about things. What I mean is that any concept in Judaism, let's say animals, So every animal in Judaism has a meaning. There's a kelev, there's a chatul, there's an aze, there's a shor. Each one, if they come in a dream, a pill, each one, if they come in a dream, so the Gemara talks about it. There's another way to find out about these things, which is called Pirkei Shira. So those of you that say Pirkei Shira, for those of the ladies that are listening, so it could be that you like to say Pirkei Shira. It's very beautiful. It's a big schus to say Pirkei Shira. There you also see each animal and each object is compared to, there's a pasuk that brings down, and you see about what they're about through those psukim. So the 7 species are brought down in the Pirkei Shira, and it bothers me to no end that Zaysim is skipped out. There is no pasuk, there's no mention in Pirkei Shira for olives. Why, I do not know. So if you can get me an answer, I would appreciate that very, very much. Now, let's finally get to the main part of the class over here. I have a sefer on brachos, which I don't use that much because it's mainly Kabbalah. It's called the Gra, the parish of the Gra on Pirkei Avos. This is published by Merkaz Rav Kook. And I got it as a gift from Torah Shraga back in the day over here. It's an amazing, amazing sefer. It's basically the Gra throughout the Masechta, but overwhelmingly it's Kabbalistic insights. Over here, he says something that is not going to be a huge shock to any of you that ever have learned just a teeny weeny bit of Pnimius, of Kabbalah, whatever it may be. It's not going to be a big shock, but he walks you through this, which what makes this share so exciting is the Gra is going to hold our hands and tell us what kind of you're expecting to hear now, but he actually tells us how this works. And that is the following. He says that you should know that the 7 species, the 7 beautiful fruits that Eretz Yisrael is blessed with correspond to the 7 Sephiros, the 7 mystical emanations through which HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world. Now, my Rebbe, Rabbi Shapiro, would come back from the dead to tell me off for teaching Kabbalah in public. However, the reason why I'm not worried about him coming and being upset with me, because I've heard him say this, there's certain things in Kabbalah that have become, excuse the expression, commercialized. Forget about those of you, I don't know if anyone's listening from Los Angeles over here, if Derek, if you're listening, today you can go to Pico Robertson and there's, you have the Kabbalah kindergarten, where they basically, at the age of 5, you can sing, these are the Sephiros in your neighborhood, in your neighborhood, in your neighborhood. You got Sephiros, everyone talks about, this is like, it's so entrenched. And every website talks about it. It's a scary world. But Art Scroll, the Heilige Art Scroll, will actually bother to go through the 7 Sephiros when they talk about, number 1, the Ushpizin. So that is the 7 nights of Sukkot. We introduce every night a different Sephira with a different guest that represents that Sephira. And now, when we go to Sephiros HaOmer, and those of you that have a little bit of Hasidic blood flowing through your veins, so after you count the Sephira, so tonight was Chesed Shevahod, was Pesach Sheni, so you immediately say after this Rabbeinu Shalom, and it says, insert the correct Sephira right over here. That's what it says over here. I got my Art Scroll Siddur. Insert the correct Sephira right over here. So that's it. So, Daddy, what's a Sephira? So you have to answer that question. Thank you, Rabbi Dave. Thank you once again. The answer to the question, what is a Sephira, on our level is the following. When Hashem created the world, so just like I mentioned earlier on, that the Aleph base is foundation blocks, the Torah is foundation blocks. HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world from wherever that moment of creation was until everything reached down into this world. He created what's called universes that have the ability to affect the lower worlds. So just like I mentioned earlier on, the 4 worlds of Olam Hasiya, Olam HaMalachim, Olam HaKisei, and then the one above that. So there's also, each one of those is divided into 7 sephiros. Sephiros are literally emanations from the higher worlds to the lower worlds. And we have a tradition, so this is Kabbalah 101 that everyone knows, that the final journey from the higher worlds to down into this world so that we have access to it, we needed 7, what's called the 7 royim in the Zohar, the 7 shepherds. Each one of them took one of these midos and embodied that through their actions. At that moment, that sephira, so to speak, had access to the lower worlds. So without thinking too deeply into what I just said, let's go through the 7 shepherds. We know who they are because of Shavuos, because of Sukkot. Chesed is Avram Avinu. So when we talk about Chesed, we don't just mean giving tzedakah to a poor man. It's called the midah, the sphere of Chesed. Chesed literally means to expand, to outreach from the higher worlds into the lower worlds. Avram Avinu had, together with his wife Sarah, had a tent that was open in all 4 directions. Through that, Chesed came down into this world. Yitzchak embodied the midah of Gvura, which we're going to explain in a moment. Yaakov Avinu took Chesed of his grandfather and took Gvura of his father and created a new midah, which was the mizuk, which was the harmony of the two, called Tiferes. Tiferes, and Reb Nati asks, why would they call shepherds? So a shepherd has a job, which is to make sure that the flock goes to the destination that is intended. The job of a shepherd is always is not for himself. The shepherd does not care about himself. The shepherd cares about his flock, and therefore the job of the shepherd is to bring ultimately Klal Yisrael, and through Klal Yisrael the whole world, so that that particular midah can expand throughout the Olam Hasiyah in its totality. So Chesed begins with Avram. Avram Avinu originally did it, what he did then, but ultimately the Chesed with Avram Avinu comes through Klal Yisrael, through the Melech HaMashiach, who will spread it to the 4 corners of the world. Moshe and Aaron are called Netzach and Hod, which we're going to explain properly in a few minutes. And then Yosef is the midah of Yesod. Yosef, when he overcame the big test with the wife of Potiphar, so he became Yesod. Yesod is the foundation of Kedusha, and specifically the Kedusha of the bris and the Kedusha of the Jewish home. And finally, you have David HaMelech is Malchus. So Malchus in this world is brought down. Malchus takes everything and gives it a solid foundation here in this world. So David HaMelech is the midah of Malchus. So those are called the seven emanations, the 7 sephiros, and in Kabbalah writing they're called Chagat Nehim, right? Something Chagat, Chesed, Gevurah, Tiferes, Nehim, Netzach, Hod, Yesod, Malchus. That's how it comes from the higher worlds into the lower worlds. And I'll tell you a little secret. Every time you see the number 7, somebody somewhere is going to try and align them to the world of the 7 spheres. My good friend, Rabbi Zev Radman Shlita, last week, he sent me he went through the 7 female prophetesses, and he went through also using the writings of the Gra. This time it's the Gra in Megillah, in Perek and Daf Yud Ches, I think it was, and he goes through whatever the 7 prophetesses, how it works. Sarah is Chesed, Miriam is Gvura, all the way down, which is the easy one, that Esther is Malchus. And the bottom line is, you can basically do it with all the 7s that are out there with a little bit of work. Now comes my point. Let's go back to the dreams over here. I obviously want to get to talk about Lag BaOmer and Pesach Sheni on a deeper level, but let's start. I want to go through the other 6 ones. In other words, I want to go through the non-Hod examples in our Gemara over here through the lenses of the Vilna Gaon. So the Vilna Gaon actually walks us through in the sefer that I just showed you and shows us how the 7 fruits correspond to the 7 midos, the 7 spheres. By the way, the word midos is just a more gentle way of saying Sephiros. They're really the same thing, just that Sephiros is Kabbalah, and that's why they write it with a PH. It makes it sound spookier. 7 midos, is just much more fun. Midos are the way we are. It's just easier to talk about midos than to talk about Sephiros, but it's the same thing. Now, let's go through this. And for those of you that are hearing these ideas for the first time, just stop and reflect how awesome is our Torah. That everything in the physical world, you go a little bit deeper and it leads you to the highest of the highest. Every single thing in this world, has it's a kais or it's a sefer or whatever it may be. Anything that has a biblical name to it has its roots in the highest of the highest. So let's do this. Let's start off with wheat and barley. Wheat and barley is kind of easy, is chesed and gvura. Chesed and gvura is wheat and barley. And I'm not, obviously, the purpose is not to go through this in great detail, because then we'll never get to Hod. But chita and sephira, the easiest way to talk about this in the language of this time of the year is that chita corresponds to matzah in the month of Nisan, and Iyar is the barley, the Eimer that corresponds to Sephiros HaEimer. So if you want to know what is the food of the month of Nisan, it is definitely chita, it is definitely matzah, and what is the food of the month of Iyar, it is definitely barley. So what is the difference between wheat and barley? So as you know, this is not new for you, is that human beings are supposed to eat wheat and animals are supposed to eat barley. Barley is the animal food. Barley is the carbon brought by the Seta woman. She brings the Mishnah in Perek Beis of Seta. She behaves like an animal. She brings an animal carbon. It is the animal food. My Rebbe, Ramon Shapiro, once quipped that our generation is into health food. So some of you know, I see some of you are students of my wife and friends of my wife, Debbie. So tonight I'm going to eat her famous spelt challah. Probably at some point next week, I'm going to eat for breakfast oatmeal. God help us, spelt challah, oatmeal for breakfast. What's happening to us? So Rav Shapiro would say, as we get closer to Mashiach, the tzuras ha'adam has gone down to become more animal-like. So healthy is now animal food. It's a reflection of what has happened to us. Humanity has gone down, so therefore our healthy food has gone down. So that's it. Barley corresponds to animals. So now I just want to show this to you just a little bit on a deeper level. Chesed is Avram, and Gevura is Yitzchak Avinu. Kindness is expansion, is the world is healthy and everything is the way it's supposed to be. That was Seder night, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu opened up the world. Shabbos Hagadol, everything is expansion, everything is good, everything is the way it's supposed to be. And then we celebrate that with pure chita, without any additives, which is the matzah that we have then. And then afterwards, we go through a struggle. Remember that the month of Iyar is when Hashem hides himself. It is the month that corresponds to the ox. It is the month that corresponds to struggle. It's the month that corresponds to darkness. And we rediscover Hashem's light through the journey, little by little, bit by bit, through the avodah of sephira ha'omer. Literally, we count through the omer. Means we try and turn the barley and we elevate it into something that we can use into the service of Hashem. So that is chita, that is sephira. Chita is the food of man when man is in a state of perfection, and sephira is sephiros ha'omer, is the avodah to take the world of din, the world of harshness, the world of challenges, the world that we're going through now with our coronavirus, and to try and elevate it to kedusha. So let's go back to our Gemara over here. Haroya chita. So if you see wheat in a dream, so that wheat is shalom. So shalom is the ultimate goal of chesed. Everything starts in chesed, ends with shalom. And actually, in the Shemona Esrei, we say sim shalom Teva, Abracha, Chen, V'Chesed, Barachamim. All these things are all words of expansion of goodness, and it ends with Shalom. The end of the road, which begins with Chesed, ends with Shalom, when everything is the way it's supposed to be, everything is beautiful, and Birkas Kohanim, all these things. The story begins with Chesed, and Chesed is allowed free reign. It ends with everything falling into place, which is what Shalom is all about. You see Shalom, Bimreimav, the higher worlds, the lower worlds, everything is in sync, everything is perfect. That's Seder night, that's Avram Avinu's Chesed, and that is, if you see it in a dream, you get Shalom. Sa'irim, which is barley, what happens there? So Sarah Avainov. So again, the negative is removed. So this is the sin is the world of darkness, is the world of where we mess up, and we fix things, and we open up the light to come out through the darkness. So the world of barley begins with darkness, and then the light is allowed to be expressed through that. So I just wanted to throw this in. I have a class which I actually give to NCS Wires, where I go through the different parts of the human face. It's called Human Beauty. If I'm working with public school kids, I'll name the class, Why Are Supermodels Gorgeous? It's just a hook title to get kids to say, well, that's an interesting question. And I show them that just like we went through the 7 fruits, so we have, the eyes and the ears and the nose and the mouth and the hair. Well, what's the Hebrew word for hair? Sarah. Do you ever think about that? Hair has the same basic word as barley. So it's also, there's a third word, which is called a storm, which is also Sarah, but there the sin turns into a samach. It's all the same idea. For those of you, the ladies listening, so you know that first thing in the morning, your hair can look like a storm. Apparently, there's 100,000 hair follicles on our scalp. And women are definitely connected to the world of Sa'irim. Their job is to elevate the physical, and that, well, yeah, it's Shin and Sin also you're making things complicated, but you're correct. The bottom line is that what they have in common is that the hair is something that represents something that it left on its own. It's a storm, but you have the ability to channel it. That's coming up to Lag BaOmer is exactly why Lag BaOmer is a perfect time to cut a 3-year-old's hair, meaning you're now ready that the storm, the Midas Hadin, that is the child, has the ability to be now, an ability to be channeled. I'm looking at the clock over here. I just need to move on because I really will need, I'm just running out of time. Geffen. What is a Geffen? So Geffen is something that my Rebbe gave 2 classes on grapes, and you can keep on going because Geffen is so basic, because as you know, Geffen is the raw material for wine, and wine is huge in Judaism. How cool is this? The Gra tells us the gematria of Adam, which is red, and Lavan, which is white. So Adam is 51, Lavan is 72. Together is 133 is gematria Geffen. That means that you have red wine and you have white wine. Red is the color of Midas Hadin. White is the color of Midas Harachamim. It's also feminine and masculine in Kabbalah. But the bottom line is that you put them together, you have what's called Tiferes. The word Tiferes, which is Yaakov Avinu, taking the Midas Hadin, the color red of his father Yitzchak, and the Midas Harachamim, the color white of his grandfather Avram Avinu, and he forms this new thing called Tiferes. This is exactly the mizug of wine, the different wines that we have. Just wanted to share with you, last year in the good old days when I could still travel. So I went on a trip with Nissel to Barcelona, and we went to a kosher winery. And there, the lady that ran the tour, I asked her, tell me to find wine. I wanted to see what she said. So I actually just listened tonight again to a little clip. I thought of playing it for you. She said to me, she was very poetic, and she says, wine is the harmony between man and the soil. This was the words she said. And there was a lot of aimek in what she said, because she was trying to, she gets, for her, wine is her life, is that French wine and Spanish wine is different between the French and Spanish people and their cultures. That's the way she sees it. And people who are winos, they can talk forever about the mizug, how everything goes together, how everything blends. I thought that when we say to Chassan and Kala, Imri Hagefen, V'invi Hagefen, is that you have a male and a female comes together and they form a new bias, a new home. That's Kipshuto, that's the Tiferes. That is a new couple, a male and a female come together to build a bias. That is the Tiferes of the harmony of what they're doing when they build together. So what does it say? Haray Yayin B'chalaim, Ein Ishto Mapelas Lefalin. So the woman will not have a miscarriage. And miscarriage is always when the body is not functioning the way it's supposed to be. I'm not saying this as a doctor. Maybe a chiropractor will tell you that all disease is dis-ease, is when things are not blended together. But that's what the Gra tells us, is that the woman, the nefel, the miska, the child that comes out not the way it's supposed to be, is when the harmony inside her creative part of her body is not in sync. It's not working in perfect harmony together. So that's the case of wine. I'm really not giving it full justice. I need to skip to 6 and 7. And then afterwards we'll go back to the pomegranate and the fig. I want to talk about it a little bit longer. Let's talk very, very briefly about if you see if you see an olive in a dream. So what is an olive? So the olive, as you know, corresponds to the midah of Yisaid. Yisaid, as we mentioned earlier on, is Yosef, is Kedushas Habris, and Kedushas Habayis. It's where holiness is found. What does this have to do with the Zayas? So remember the pasuk. The pasuk here is Banecha Kishesili Zaysim Saviv L'Shulchanecha. So Rashi says something beautiful in Tehillim. Rashi Tehillim says that a Zayas is the only fruit that you cannot be markiv, meaning you cannot graft it with anything else. It stays with its own kind, which is what the Kedusha of a home is. And I just gave my farewell classes to the seminaries, and I told them, I said to them, my dear ladies, at the end of your life, you look back, you're like, if there's one thing that you want to get right, it's your bias. You want to get that right. You want to have that right husband, and the husband that doesn't look at any other woman except for you. And the two of you build a home and you have those children around your Shabbos table. That is the Zayas. Think about it tonight when you say Kriya Shema Amita and you say that pasuk. I'm skipping that. There's a lot. Yisaid and Shemen are connected. That's out of the realm of tonight. Let us continue. Haroya Tamar b'chalaim. You see a date in a dream. So that is Malchus. That is David HaMelech. So king, what is a king all about? A king takes his realm and everything in his realm is disparate, and he puts them all together underneath him and he turns them into something whole. Apparently, a tamar is supposed to be the sweetest of all the sweetest of the 7 fruits. It is basically sugar. It's called davash in the Chumash. And the bottom line is that the Zohar brings down that tamar is tam-mar, right? Tam-mar, the bitterness that goes through the system comes out sweet after the longest journey of any fruit. You at the end, tamar, that's the malchus where everything falls into place. The Ibn Ezra at the end of Parshas Beshalach tells us that tamarim are the only fruit that can only grow on sweet water. If the water has any saltiness, it won't survive. And the same Zayar of Tamar says that was the famous tree that Moshe Rabbeinu put into the water to sweeten the water was a date palm, which is, of course, makes a lot of sense in the desert that it would be a date palm, but that date palm is the Tamar, is the Malchus that takes everything of his realm and turns it into sweetness. Finally, we get to Netzach and Hod. Okay, so Netzach and Hod is a massive, massive topic over here, and it's so important. I have to apologize. I'm giving you level 1 of understanding Netzach and Hod. Out of the 7 midos, Netzach and Hod is the most complex. Some of you know that if this is the Tiferes and this is the Chesed and this is the Amin. So you have Netzach and Hod are the right and left thighs that keep the body up. They are the Netzach, corresponds to Chesed. It is the foundation of Chesed, and Hoid is the foundation of Gvura. That's how it works in the Kabbalah. The first person to say this, I know, is Rav Moshe Cordovero. He drew this as a map, right? So you have Netzach holds up Chesed, and Hoid holds up the Midah of Gevurah. So what does this mean for our class? All you need to know is the following. Again, it's a little bit simplistic what I'm doing over here. Netzach means victory. Hod means splendor. So the idea is that Moshe Rabbeinu, he is to humanity the one that everything in front of him just disappears. He's pure light. He is the one that he is to the world like there's no competition. Okay, he is victorious against everything. So Moshe Rabbeinu, whoever it is, you stand in front of Moshe Rabbeinu, you just disappear. Whether your name is Paro, whether your name is Og Melech HaBashan, whether your name is Korach, in front of Moshe Rabbeinu, you disappear. He is the constant victory. He is pure light. He is Chesed coming down to this world and attaching itself to everything as pure, undiluted light. That is the Chesed in action, is the Netzach of Moshe Rabbeinu, is that constant victory. He is, I'm British, so I will say he is the, once upon a time he would say he was the Manchester United is to soccer, so Moshe Rabbeinu is to the rest of the world. It doesn't work, I'm sorry, yeah, I understand. Mike Ravinsky is probably thinking of the St. Louis Rams, whatever it may be, Halavai, whatever it is, okay? Whatever it is, that one thing that is way above everything else, that's Netzach. Haid is the exact opposite. Haid is when you have a world of darkness, and Haid is the light that breaks through and allows that in that darkness, there's actually light. It's interesting that the Mefarshim say about Moshe Rabbeinu's face had a Haid. So Moshe Rabbeinu had a physical body, and the spirituality burst through his physicality. It's a perfect marshal for what Haid is. Haid is when you have a physical darkness, and then the light breaks through. That was the job of the Beis Hamikdash. Aaron HaKohen would take the korbanos that represents the sins of the people, and the people come along and bring it to the Beis Hamikdash, and Aaron would take that and pass it through this filter called the Beis Hamikdash, and out would come the pure light. That's why the Beis Hamikdash is called Beis HaHaid. Where does it say that? It's the Gemara in Daf Nun Ches. We're going to get there. There's many other sources where the Beis Hamikdash in poetry is called Beis HaHaid. I see once again, if I'm not mistaken, Reb Mike, it's in the song Yom Li'abasha, which you say at a bris milah. So that song, it's somewhere in that song is something called Beis HaHaid, if I'm not mistaken, if my memory serves me correctly. But the bottom line is that you see how the Chesed and Gvura come down as Netzach and Hod, how one is pure light just spreading everywhere, and the other one is darkness and the light coming through and breaking through over here. So this brings us over here. I apologize to do this so quickly. Such a huge, huge topic is Pesach Sheni. I don't know if you have the custom to eat matzah, that's if you have Hasidic blood, you should have a kazayas of matzah today. My minhag is that I have matzah from the Seder table. I keep a little bit from Seder and I hold on to it to Pesach Sheni. That's what I had tonight, is kazayas of hand-baked matzah. The bottom line is that it all goes back to those Jews, those heroes that said what I call the two most important words for anyone that's looking to succeed in the world of darkness, or what we call in Kirov second chances. Lama Nigara, why should we be left out? These people are Tameh. Tameh is the world of darkness. They lived in the world of darkness, and they come in the month of Iyar in the second year, and they say to Moshe Rabbeinu, not something that is rational, not something coming from here, something coming from here. They're saying the world is dark, and we don't want to be here. Help us. And Moshe Rabbeinu says, I'm going to ask Hashem. There's nothing in Torah. Torah is light. There's nothing in the Torah that allows people to break through that darkness. And he gives them over this Yom Tov called Pesach Sheni. Pesach Sheni is really the centerpiece of the month of Iyar. Tonight is the 14th. The 14th and 15th is when the month reaches its zenith. And there you have, according to my Rebbe over here, Hamahalach shel Gilu Kveda Yisbarach Derech HaTachtainim, the Gilu of the code of Hashem through the darkness of the world of darkness. So the Zohar comes along and tells us that Pesach Sheni is really a 7-day Yom Tov. He says this in Parshas Balosacha over there in the Midbar. The Zohar, those of you that have the old-fashioned Zohar, Kufnon base, he brings down, it's a 7-day Yom Tov, and the climax of the Yom Tov is not the end, but rather Hoyd Shebahod. So it's a reference from the Zohar to Lag Ba'omer based on Pesach Sheni. Pesach Sheni is Chesed Shebahod, and Hoyd Shebahod is Lag Ba'omer. What exactly is Lag Ba'omer all about? So this does not need me to tell you. You don't need a rocket scientist to tell you that after the Churban Beis HaMikdash, the world was plunged into a darkness she'ein kamayhu, and in that darkness, HaKadosh Baruch Hu allowed a little bit of light to flicker through, and that began with the Torah of Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva, in the words of the Arizal, is the father of Torah Sheba'al Peh. Torah Sheba'al Peh is man's ability to create Torah. It doesn't matter where you are, in Bavel, or where today you are, whether you guys are in Kansas City or in St. Louis or in Boca Raton, you have the ability in that world of Cheshech to let light flicker through. So that has its roots in Pesach Sheni and has its expression in history with the birth of the Torah of Rabbi Akiva, which is what we're learning in all our yeshivas day and night. I have over here, I can't go through it with you. Those of you that have Reb Tzadok HaKohen, the Pri Tzadok, it's just, he has a whole essay. He says, Reb Tzadok, his first essay on Lag BaOmer is to tell you that Lag BaOmer is not really about Hashem Bar Yochai, it's about Rabbi Akiva. But since Rabbi Akiva, his light was stifled by the Romans, so we don't talk about him. The Romans murdered him, so therefore his Talmud, so Reb Tzadok says that Hoyd Shebahod corresponds to Truma Sheba which is Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, that light, filtered light of Rabbi Akiva came through Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, and on that awesome day when Reb Shimon Bar Yochai died, he died with the legacy of the Idra. The Idra is the foundation block of the Zohar that was revealed on Lag BaOmer. That light, which is the minhag of bonfires, Mike, you sent me the Corona version. Okay, so you have a bonfire surrounded by, instead of surrounded by people, surrounded by Zooms, doesn't make any difference. The idea is that light, it comes from Lag BaOmer, is that moment when the light bursts through all the darkness. That is the Hoyd Shebahod. I just want to make a little comment very, very quickly, because I also am very into history. Every time in history when there was extreme darkness, a generation of suffering, and then came a new light. So you had the Churban, a generation later, you have Shimon Bar Yochai and the Zohar. And after the Inquisition, which was a catastrophe, probably the greatest catastrophe between the Churban and the Holocaust. So you had a generation, the Abar Elzer, and then afterwards you had the Arizal, and he introduced the Torah of the Arizal, and you had Tzfas, and that light came out of Tzfas was the once again that burst out of Cheshech, that's pure Hoyd. Shabtai Tzvi, Tach V'Tat, once again the world is plunged into darkness. A generation later, you had in Lithuania, you had the Vilna Gaon. In the Ukraine, you had the Baal Shem Tov. Those are two Eiros that HaKadosh Baruch Hu sent Klal Yisrael to take us out of the darkness once again, and both of them were Megala, the Teres Hanista once again. Now comes Menachem Nissel after the Holocaust, an Imam of Emunah Shalema. The HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us access to stuff that we've never had before through personalities like Rav Hutner and Rav Dessler. Obviously, my Rebbe has got a part of that, but Ramesh Shapiro, but that is that we have access to material like this Eiros that we can learn Pneumius like never before, which we need to help us through this world of darkness. Now I get to the climax of the share. Everyone should sit down, make themselves comfortable, because this last 2 minutes is going to be such a pleasure for you. If you really want to see the beauty of Torah, I want you to stop and think, just for 1 minute. I'm not going to give you the answer. What's the difference between a fig and a pomegranate. A fig is netzach, and a pomegranate is hide. What's the difference between a fig and a pomegranate? Hashem made 7 species. Look at the properties of a fig, look at the properties of a pomegranate, and tell me what you notice about them. And then I'm going to see smiles on your faces, because we suddenly like, oh my gosh, I've been eating these things my whole life, which is not true, because figs are always buggy. I don't really understand that. But it's like, yeah, it's ridiculous. But figs is pure fruit. Figs have exactly, right? Figs have no psolas. Figs are 99.9% fruit. That's what it is. And pomegranates is 99% psolas. It's darkness. It's completely there. The exact, okay, you're right. I'm not talking about the crown. I'm talking about, there's a lot of things about these fruit. I'm talking about netzachod, pure light and pure darkness. The pure light is the fig. In Chazal, when we talk about what's called the tam, right? Something that's pure taste, has no pso, nothing bitter, nothing negative about it. It's always the fig, and the pomegranate is pure bitterness. And so if you go deep down, you can take out, even when you get those pits that's got that little bitter thing inside the pit. It's like relentless. The pomegranate is relentless to get that little sweetness, which apparently is extremely healthy. And pomegranate juice, if you get it out of there, is really wonderful. But the bottom line is that one is kulei pri and one is kulei pselis. One is kulei netzach, one is kulei haid. Let's have a look at what happens when you dream about these things. You dream about a te'ena. It says Torah, which is Torah Shabbat, by the way, which is Torah Shabbat, is Moshe Rabbeinu. It says that your Torah is held inside of you. Nothing is lost. It's pure. It stays inside of you 100%. Torah Shabbat it remains solid inside of you. It remains. Nothing gets lost. The sweetness is intact. Nothing gets lost. It's pure, unadulterated sweetness. That's when you dream about a fig. If you dream about a Rimon, so then it splits into 2. So here the Gra says that a Rimon is the Talmid Chacham and the Amaretz is a reference to Yisachar and Zvulun. That's what he says. To go Yisachar and Zvulun, he says, what is Yisachar? It's the Talmid Chacham. What happens is he should expect that out of the darkness will burst out light. That's what he says. Torah will come out from him. The Zvulun says that mitzvahs will come out of him. What's mitzvahs? So the Gra says mitzvahs is what keeps the Torah. This is the job of the Amaretz is to keep the Torah. I saw last night the Marit Al-Ghazi. I saw the Marit Al-Ghazi says something so beautiful. He asked the question. We say that Amaretz is filled with mitzvos like a Rimon, filled with mitzvos like a Rimon. But the same Amaretz on Sukkot is called compared to an Arava, which has no mitzvos. So is he filled with mitzvos, or does he have no mitzvos? So the Marit Al-Ghazi says, I hope you like this. When you put him next to an esrog, it looks like he has no mitzvos. But if you have him on his own, like a Rimon, then you see how special he is. If you can look at this person that's Kulam Amar, you look at him without all the, the Leikud Chevra, that's the Kolo guys, you just look at him straight. Who is this Jew in front of you? All you see is that sweetness. You go through all that garbage and you find that he has 613 mitzvos deep down inside. You can identify the beauty of every single yid. It's what the Marit Al-Ghazi says. And now, one last thought, and I'll let you guys go. And just once again, this is Rav Moshe Shapiro. He gets the last word. Look at the word Rimon. I want you guys to play around with the word Rimon for a moment. What do you see? Rimon, okay, Nati got it, is Meron. Okay, there we go. It's Meron. It's the same word. Thank you very much. Okay, Meron and Rimon, it's the same thing. That don't think by chance it's called Meron. It's called Rimon. And it's really the same. It's just these words can be flipped. And that is that the pomegranate, it comes out in this beautiful, the custom. Last year we had 200,000 people in Meron. This year we're going to have 3 little bonfires, 3 rebbes, whatever they worked out over there. It doesn't matter because Meron stays in our hearts. And so all I'm asking every single one of you is, first of all, Pesach Sheni, Lama Nigara. we should find that inner strength, that we should allow the light to burst out through the darkness. And for those of you that want to read more on the subject, I wrote an article in this week's Mishpacha in Family First. The ladies that are listening and still with us in this week's Family First, I have a whole article on Pesach Sheni. It's because the ladies section is what empowers me to do it. But really, it's this share written in the language of magazines. And the bottom line is that how beautiful is this to see the beauty of Klal Yisrael, whether it's the Talmidei Chachamim who are doing their best to learn under the situation. And yeah, I will send it to you, Mike. And or the Amaratzim, who, so to speak, I hate the word Amaratzim, but it means the people, the regular, the Zvulans of the world, who are doing their part. And together we move forward to Makabel the Torah at Har Sinai. We should be zeicha that all our dreams should be sweet. All our dreams should be the flourishing of Torah, and Be'ez Hashem Yisbarach, we should makabel the Torah this year with the kind of Mashiach Meher V'Yameinu. See you all there. Thank you all for listening. It's been a big schus to see you all. Kultu. Thank you.
Shabbos.
Thank you so much. Good Shabbos.
Shabbos, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you all for coming.
Wait, don't hang up. We want to stay in Eretz Yisrael with you.
Okay, and I can stay as long as you want.
Well, bring us to Rehov Yafo to greet Mashiach with you.
Okay, absolutely.
Rabbi Nissel, so you're going to have charata that you told me to set up this chavrusa.
Why?
Because as we're learning, we're now holding Perek Dalet